At the start signal, drop the cloth, draw from concealment and engage T1 and T2 with 2 shots each.
On the signal, you're going to draw and put 2 rounds on each of the 3 paper targets.
All shots must be fired while moving. 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, that's fine. If you go 1 or you go 2, 2, 2, that's fine.
Again, you're asked to fire 2 shots on each target from behind cover.
T7, T8, T9 with 2 rounds each. Course designer is Bill Wilson. You have heartburn with the course, take it up with him. Obviously, you can move back as far as you want. I would recommend that you not move any farther back than the picnic table.
You know, we're shooting with everybody from the average guy to the Rob Lathams, and everybody's hanging out literally together.
But it is fun, right?
Oh, absolutely. You know, if we couldn't shoot, we'd throw rocks.
Time, 2, 1, 1, 8.
With the cigar.
For sure. I wouldn't have thrown it down if I'd have been on the street.
That's exactly right.
Hello folks, I'm Lenny McGill coming to you today from Columbia, Missouri for the IDPA Invitational Tournament and Conference. IDPA stands for International Defensive Pistol Association. It's a brand new, exciting shooting sport which emphasizes defensive tactics and marksmanship much more than equipment. Now this is truly an invitational event, as 125 of the top industry names have been invited here to celebrate and launch this new, exciting shooting sport. From the heartland of America and the site of the original IPSC Columbia Conference, Bill Wilson and the IDPA Board of Directors have brought together a truly unique group of shooters, writers, and self-defense instructors to test the concept of this new shooting sport. Kent Hackathorn shows that if you practice, you can just keep getting better and better and better. Chip McCormick comes out of retirement to support the IDPA. Dick Thomas was here 21 years ago at the original IPSC Columbia Conference. Dave Arnold is a senior writer-editor at Guns & Ammo magazine. Lane Simpson is another writer whose name you should recognize. And of course, Rob Latham loves to shoot, and he'll prove why he's one of the best to ever compete. Other names you'll recognize are Kirby Smith, now the president of CZ USA. John Nallen, the founder and owner of Nallen Custom Guns. John Sale, an IDPA board member. Walt Rouch, another board member and a writer in many of the gun magazines. And a bunch of others that are going to help make this program a pleasure to watch and own. Coming up later in the program, I'll show you how you can become a member of the International Defensive Pistol Association. But for now, get ready for the exciting action of America's newest shooting sport, the IDPA. Stage 1 is sponsored by Ed Brown Products, and this is an IDPA defensive pistol classification stage. This stage features 4 different strings shooting at 3 different targets that are at different heights. T1 is 6 feet high, T2 is 4 feet high, and T3 is 5 feet high. On string 1, you start in position 2, draw and advance toward the targets, firing 2 shots each at T1 through T3, all while moving. You cannot stop. You've got to be walking towards the target as you shoot. String number 2, you draw and retreat from the targets. Again, firing 2 shots at each target, and you've got to be moving. All shots must be fired while moving. string number 3. Now you start at position 2. You start with your back at the targets, turn and fire 2 shots at T1, 2, and 3. Reload from slide lock and fire 2 shots again at T1, 2, and 3 for a total of 12 shots. And in string number 4, you draw and fire 2 shots at targets 1, 2, and 3, strong hand only. The total is 30 rounds here for stage 1. And that was Jay Christie with a score of 20.66. Jay shoots with the U.S. Army shooting team. Nice job. Now this next shooter is Dave Arnold. He's the editor of Guns and Ammo magazine. He's one of 2 shooters in this event using a revolver. And good time there. Here's the second string. He'll be moving back away from the targets. And another good time.
Stand by.
Nice reload. Well done. Time of 13.76 seconds. And now for the 4th string.
Stand by.
And a good time, which gives him an overall score of 34.73 as we watch him with the one-handed technique in slow motion. Nice shooting, Dave Arnold. All right, next up here is Rob Latham. Rob, of course, is one of the most accomplished pistol shooters to ever live. And look at that time, 3.68 seconds for a total of 6 shots while moving. No misses there either. Look at that time, 2.98 seconds. Nice shooting, Rob. Okay, here's string number 3 with the reload. Little bobble on the reload, but he gets through with 7.53 seconds. And now, here's string number 4. Rob makes it look easy. As we watch it here in slow motion, you see Rob's overall score is 19.83. Rob's the kind of shooter who can shoot any gun under any circumstance well. And I spoke with him earlier about the IDPA format, what he thinks about this new shooting sport.
As far as their ideals, I think it's wonderful to keep it simple, bring it back down. It doesn't make it any easier because the course of fire is short and close, because the fact that you're trying to go quick is always going to make it hard. You know, it could be just, hold a gun in your hand, aim at the target, look at quick draw, fast draw. It's the simplest of all the games.
Right, one shot.
But some would argue that it's the most difficult, and there's only one thing you have to do. It's the simplest. Doesn't mean it's easy. Simple doesn't always mean easy.
The IDPA scoring system is designed to reward accuracy over speed. The target looks somewhat similar to an IPSC target, however, the scoring zones are certainly different. The A zone is an 8-inch round circle in the center of the target. It scores 5 points. The upper zone scores 5 points as well. Other zones score 4 points and 2 points. What makes this sport attractive is the ease of the scoring system. To score the Vickers count system, as they call it here in the IDPA, simply take the time it took to complete the string of fire and add 0.5 of a second for each point down from the possible score. So, if you shoot 8 shots in 8 seconds and scored 35 points out of a possible 40, your score is your raw time, which is 8 seconds, plus your missed points. In this case, 5 points down times 0.5 seconds, which equals 2.5 seconds. Add those together, and your final score is then recorded as 10.5 seconds. There's no hit factors or percentages that come into play, and it's basically the lowest score is going to be the winner. In the limited Vickers count, everything is basically the same, except that you can only shoot the number of shots specified in the course of fire. Any additional shots will incur a procedural penalty of 3 seconds per shot added to your time. So you can see, accuracy is much more important than speed in this sport. So now, let's move on to Stage 2. Stage 2 is called Permanent Withdrawal, and it's sponsored by Hall China Company. Here there are 2 different strings of fire, and on string 1, the shooter begins at position 1 with a strong hand on the ATM machine. At the signal, draw and fire 2 shots at targets 1, 2, and 3. Proceed to the front of the car, position number 2, and fire 2 shots again at targets 4, 5, and 6. Now, on string 2, the shooter begins at position 3 with a strong hand on the ATM. Here, at the signal, you draw and turn around and fire 2 shots on targets 1, 2, and 3 with your strong hand only. Proceed to the front of the car, position 2, and fire 2 shots at targets 4, 5, and 6. There's a total of 24 shots here, and the catch is that you must draw from concealment and make sure you're using cover when you do take those shots from behind the car. That was Wally Arita from the Gun Games Magazine. He's the editor, publisher, and owner of Gun Games Magazine. Next up here, Keith Bridgestone. If you haven't missed, pick it up. Why not? And his time on the first string is 28.29 seconds. Now, don't try to adjust your TV set because we had some technical difficulties with that camera out there on that one string. Here's the second string. All right, strong hand. Using cover now. See, he's shooting the whole match here with one hand. And now it goes to two hands. Slide lockout. Time is 30.11 seconds, which gives him an overall score of 76.36 seconds. Nice shooting, Keith.
Range is clear.
Next up here, this is one of the IDPA board members, Ken Hackathorn. Ken's got a very intense style. Nice shooting, good time, 16.95 seconds for Ken here on the first string. Now here's the second string, strong hand only from concealment. And you saw Ken had a little mental error there when he shot with two hands on the first three targets. So he did get some procedural penalties, which brings his score up to 40.48 seconds. And I spoke with Ken about IDPA versus IPSC, specifically the guns used.
Evolve into something that the guns and equipment we see in IPSC now are only practical for one thing, that's winning IPSC matches. So what we've done here is design matches which, one, we think are more relative to what handguns are used for. We ask you to use real equipment, the kind of equipment you carry, and we've put strict limitations on the guns and how they can be modified. We've identified holsters that we think make sense for the kind of way you carry it. And you notice we've done it with power factor, 9s, 40s, 45s, 30s, same score. Because one, we realize that it's almost too complex to ask people to figure all these power factors out. And it just led to an equipment race that, quite honestly, I think was bogus. And
Plus, you never knew who could win until 3 days later.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I think most of us have found out after 20 years, and one thing unique about America, we kind of know what happens when people shoot people with guns, better than any other place in the world. And what we do know is the caliber isn't as big an issue as we once thought it was. And you know what I'm talking about.
Accuracy. Accuracy counts. Thank you very much, Ken Hackathorn. Now our next shooter is Julie Nowlin. Julie finishes up with a time of 19.85. Julie's one of the most accomplished female shooters in the world. There she is at the second string.
By.
Nice shooting, Julie. Time 20.95, which gives her an overall score of 50.90.
Time 20.95. Shooter ready?
Now, this is Rob Hout. Shooting a shorty 40. This is a real carry gun he carries every day. Rob is a law enforcement officer. He's actually the chief of police in Sisterville, West Virginia. Nice time there, 15.68 seconds. And here he comes again from concealment. One-handed, using cover. And a good time, 16.12 seconds. Rob shows that he can handle that weapon. His score is 36.33. Nice shooting. And I talked to Rob about this new format, the new IDPA, and what he thinks about it.
So far, I'm having a really good time. I think it's a new vehicle that people like myself that carry a gun for a living in law enforcement gives us a venue to come out and utilize the equipment that we use day to day in a realistic format, and allows us some training time and plus a competitive atmosphere.
Well, speaking of carrying the gun, shooting with the gun you carry, you're working with a gun right here. Tell me about the gun you're shooting.
The gun I'm shooting today, Lenny, is a Smith & Wesson 40 caliber that was built for me by Smith & Wesson. This is a gun that anybody's within the reach of anybody out there. It's a common weapon that anyone would purchase, law enforcement or in the private sector, and it does test the shooter, not the equipment. The thing I like about it, you can go up to a stage and the range officer can explain the scenario to you, the rationale behind it, and it makes sense. It's something that you can visualize and say, yeah, there is a reason for this, and I can understand why they asked me to do certain things.
If you would like to get involved in an exciting new shooting sport where you can use your practical carry gear, shoot realistic scenarios in a competition environment, and meet other shooters interested in defensive pistol skills, you need to check out the International Defensive Pistol Association, IDPA. They're forming clubs all over the country and in some foreign countries as well. They can be contacted at IDPA, P.O. Box 639 in Maryville, Arkansas. The zip code is 72616-0639. Their email address is idpa.org@yournet.com, or visit their website at www.idpa.com. Bill Wilson and Ken Hackathorn are two of the directors of this new exciting organization, so you know it will be practical. If you'd like to improve your defensive pistol skills, get involved today. Stage 3 is called Parking Lot Attack, and it's sponsored by Springfield Armory Aim Point. Here there's a total of 12 shots and 6 different targets. At the signal, you turn and draw and engage targets 1, 2, and 3 in tactical order. That means you shoot the closest target first. Then retreat to the rear of the car and engage targets T4, 5, and 6 in tactical order. The best 2 hits are the score for your target. Now, this stage must also be shot from concealment, and the gun must be shot dry before reloading, and the reload must be executed from behind cover. Hey, that was me, Lenny McGill, shooting that stage with a score of 17.68 seconds. Now, here's Bill Wilson, the originator, founder of IDPA. Bill shows he can still shoot. Look at that time, 11.60 seconds, which gives him a score of 13.42. And I spoke with Bill about the stages of fire and how and why they're designed the way they are here.
What we do by course design and the way the course is specified it has to be shot, we basically have people to do sound tactical things, basic things like shoot from behind cover, do their reloads from behind cover. If they're moving from one firing position to a position of better cover, take the partially loaded magazine with them by doing a tactical reload, just in case later on in the situation they need that ammunition, they didn't leave it behind.
Right.
You know, things like that. Just some of the basic stuff. You know, that makes good habits. You know.
Well, and it's interesting, speaking of habits, you see a lot of the shooters here who are used to shooting IPSC courses of fire, dropping magazines, running here and there, showing clear really fast. Those are bad habits for street self-defense.
They sure are. Because, like, for example, you mentioned to show clear, you know, rapidly and everything. I mean, actually what you want to train yourself to do is you shoot the end of the string, you do a tactical load, you know, to top your gun off before you holster it, or, you know, ideally you shoot a string, you scan the targets to make sure everything's neutralized, then you do a tactical load, then you holster the gun. You know, that's a habit that you should get into rather than doing the fast clear and show clear.
And of course, try to always have cover.
Always have cover, yes. We have specified in our course design guidelines that we have no more than 18 shots in any one string of fire. You know, because let's face it, you know, you go out to dinner, you're carrying a concealed weapon or whatever. You don't carry 12 spare magazines with you to shoot at some 35-round stage. You know, at most, you're going to have 2 spare magazines and the magazine in the gun.
Right.
So, and we rarely even have courses that have 18 shots.
The IDPA has started. It's begun. You've got local clubs already. How would people become a local club?
All they got to do is call in the office and tell me they're interested in starting a club in their area. We'll send them out the paperwork to fill out to be an affiliated club. It's very inexpensive. It's a $50 fee, which we send them stuff that costs us a lot more than $50. You know, and as far as information and a box to put the gun in to make sure the gun's not too large.
Right. And then of course they sign the local members up. Any other ongoing obligations? Remember in the USPSA they've got mission counts and all kinds of other stuff. That's really a lot of paperwork, a lot of extra work for a local club.
No, there's no extra work. Once they affiliate and they agree to run the matches by the IDPA rules and agree to hold at least 6 matches annually, they're basically on their own. I mean, our classification system, for example, they don't even have to report that to us. You know, once they run the classifier, the club president or the RO at the range that day has the authority to sign the back of their membership card and assign their classification to them right on the spot.
Wow, so you made it really user-friendly, this sport.
That was one of the main goals of IDPA, is to make it to where the clubs could get involved in it real quickly, very inexpensive cost-wise for them, and the lack of paperwork for them.
You know, I'm sure people have asked you this, and it may not be an easy answer, but here you are, you're peak of your career, having a great time, everything's great. Why do you start a new shooting sport?
Actually, out of necessity. It's one of those things that, I was involved in IPSC from the ground level. I mean, I shot my first IPSC match in 1976. And back then, there was some semblance of reality to what practical shooting was about, and it was about self-defense, and it was given. That's what we were doing. We were trying to get better with self-defense weapons. Well, now, USPSA stop shooting has evolved into what I refer to as an action shooting, and that's great. I mean, it's a great sport. It's a very well-run organization. They run their matches well and all that, but it has nothing to do with self-defense anymore. None of the equipment that's used is suitable for self-defense. No tactics are used whatsoever in any of the course designs, and so there was a big need, especially with all the states passing concealed carry laws and all the concealed carry type equipment that's coming on the market these days. There needs to be a place for these people to go out and do this type of shooting.
Refine their skills?
And refine their skills with the gun they're going to carry, and learn a little bit about things they should and shouldn't do as far as using cover and that sort of thing.
Stand by.
All right, next shooter here is Julie Nallen, stage 3. Julie's time, 15.98 seconds. And after factoring in her hits and misses, is a score of 19.72. Nice shooting, Julie. Next up here is John Sale, shooting from concealment. Remember, using cover for the reload. Nice time, John Sale, 9.38 seconds, which gives him a score of 10.75. Nice shooting. And you remember, John has been around in the IPSC shooting sport since the beginning. I asked him about IPSC versus IDPA.
More fun, more realistic, good weapons, good holsters, good course scenarios, good courses of fire.
And realistic in the sense that this is something that, you know, you could use in a real self-defense scenario.
That's the fundamental premise lying behind all this, right?
Stage 4 is a defensive pistol classification match number 3, and it's sponsored by Caspian Arms. There are 3 different strings of fire for a total of 30 shots. At string 1, start position 4, draw and fire 2 shots at each target, 1, 2, and 3, from either side of the barricade. Tactical load, and fire 2 more shots at each target from the opposite side of the barricade. At string 2, start at position 4, draw and fire 2 shots at each target, 1, 2, and 3, from either side of the barricade. Tactical load behind cover, and advance to position 5, firing 2 shots at each target from either side of the 55-gallon barrel. String number 3, you start at position 5, draw and kneel, and fire 2 shots at each target, 1, 2, and 3, from around either side of the 55-gallon barrel for a total of 30 shots. And that was Rob Latham, 30 shots in a score of 31.81 seconds. Nice shooting for Rob. Now, here's Dave Arnold again. And you can see why it's so important to use cover when you're making your reloads. Nice, steady, accurate shooting. Dave Arnold finishes with a score of 58.44. Nice shooting, Dave Arnold. Next up is Irv Stone, the owner of Barstow Precision.
Can't do that.
And there is one of those IPSC habits. Dropping a magazine, even though it has rounds in it. The tactical way is supposed to save that magazine. You may need those rounds later. Reload from behind cover. And there he is, drops another one. And you see that this sport is all about trying to change those bad habits. So you don't automatically drop a magazine on the ground. You don't automatically run out into the line of fire. Irv's time is 62.50 seconds here at the IDPA Invitational in Columbia, Missouri. This next shooter was one of the founding members of the IPSC. It's Dick Thomas. There's a tactical reload. Nice job. And good shooting. His time is 17.86 seconds. Dick lives out here in Columbia, Missouri. He's an attorney. He's one of the good attorneys. Load, tactical. From behind cover. Take cover. And nice shooting. Good time. 20.66 seconds. And here we go with his third string. Good shooting there, too. Time is 6.59 for an overall score of 53.21 for Dick Thomas. Nice shooting. And we spoke with Dick about the evolution of IPSC.
Exactly. I think we recognized in 1976 that we had two breeds of cats. We had the gamesmen and we had the serious practical shooters.
The martial artists.
Exactly. And quite honestly, the gamesmen with better organization and better support from the manufacturers prevailed.
Right.
And I would never demean IPSC, and I'm proud to have been a founder. You know, it's just they kind of went a different way. And to Bill Wilson's undying credit, and you gotta think what a salesman he is to trap Hackathorn and me back into this, because a lot of this stuff isn't fun, you know, to try to hammer this stuff out.
That worked.
Yeah, exactly. I tell you one thing before I forget it, that I think if there's anything really significant about what we've done here, I think it's our qualification course, our classifier. I think that a lot of police departments and a lot of the United States military branches are going to use that, come to use that, to define how good a shooter is. After you've gone through it and practiced it a few times, you'll figure, wow, you give me somebody who can shoot expert or master in that classification, and they're one hell of a shooter.
Thank you very much, Dick Thomas. Now, here's Ken Hackathorn again at stage number 4. To have to go reload. Nice shooting, good time, 15.51 seconds. Now, in case you've wondered or in case you've noticed, yes, Ken Hackathorn is shooting a Beretta. It's a stock Beretta, just out of the box. He and Bill Wilson are both shooting stock Berettas to show that this event, this match, this new format can be shot and is supposed to be shot with standard service pistols. That's the idea. The guns that you're going to carry, the gun that you have underneath your bed, you should be proficient with it. And a good final string there, which gives him a score of 47.38. Now, Ken is my friend and a very good spokesperson for IDPA, so I spoke to him about tactics versus gamesmanship versus reality.
Exactly. We've done our best to limit the equipment race for two reasons, Lenny. You know, you and I both have been around these a long time. I can remember you coming to some of the very first events we had, and you saw the kind of equipment people use. As a matter of fact, the average guy could afford to go out and buy himself a gun and a pretty basic holster and some magazines and come out and compete. Well, you've seen how it's turned into a virtual gear-related, and it's thousands and thousands of dollars. So you can imagine a new shooter who says, I want to get into pistol shooting, and comes out the range and sees this, he's going to walk away and say, bag it, dude, I can't afford it. Now we're going to say, if you got a Glock, a Ruger P85, a Smith, a Beretta, a SIG, whatever, you don't need a fancy gun. You just need a basic holster, a couple magazines, magazine pouches, 100 rounds ammo to come to your local match. And what we've tried to structure it, especially with these different divisions, is that if you're shooting a Ruger P85 and I'm shooting a $2,000 my custom Wilson 45, we're not even competing against each other. You're just got to beat the guys in your division. And all I have to do is beat the guys in mine. And the key thing is we want this huge mass of Americans that are buying guns for self-defense to get involved.
Because this is a training ground for self-defense, is it not?
I would say, by the way, its orientation is towards learning self-defense principles. And you and I and everybody else have seen what's happened in IPSC, and I don't want to be too critical of IPSC because it evolved in the direction in which a majority of people wanted to go. But you know, I've seen things in IPSC matches that if you were actually to try to duplicate those, if you had to use your weapon to defend yourself, would be suicidal.
Stage 5 is called Dangerous Job, and it was designed by Bill Wilson himself. It's sponsored by Smith and Alexander. Here, there are two different strings of fire. At the signal, you draw and engage targets 1, 2, and 3 with 2 rounds each in tactical order. The table, which simulates a checkout counter, must be used for cover, and half of your torso must be below the counter. String 2, it's the same as string number 1, except you start with a pistol on the countertop underneath a newspaper. And at the signal, you remove the newspaper, pick up the pistol, and engage the targets in tactical order, 2 shots each, for a total of 12 rounds. This is a great fast stage, and here's our first shooter. Okay, here's Tom Gordon now at stage number 5. This is a fun one. Close targets. And you can shoot fast. Time is 5.54 seconds.
Is the shooter ready? Stand by.
Nice shooting and a good time for Tom Gordon, who works for Smith & Wesson's Performance Center. His score is 12.20.
This is clear.
Now this is Tom Yost. And Tom also works at Smith & Wesson. Nice time there, 3.20 seconds. A very realistic stage. Add those two together, add any of his misses or penalties, and you get a score of 7.89. Nice shooting for Tom. He's one of the top shooters on the circuit today. This is Rod Steckel, my friend from Colorado. Rod's been shooting IPSC for as long as I can remember. Now he's here at this new format. And as we look at him in slow motion, we'll put his score up on the screen there, 9.02. Again, this stage must be shot with 80% of your body below that cover. And Julian Allen looking on there as Bill Loffridge lines up here at stage 5. Bill takes his time, but is accurate, 7.84 seconds.
Stand by.
Nice steady shooting. Gives him a score, 17.04. All right, our next shooter here is Lane Simpson. Lane is a gun writer, IPSC shooter. Nice time, 3.63 seconds. I tell you, this is a fun stage. And just a little extra time there to get the gun off the table. But still excellent shooting for Lane. His score, 11.35. Now this next shooter is a guy who's been around for many, many, many years.
Stand by.
It's John Nallen of Nallen Custom Guns. And he hasn't shot a competition in probably 20 years. But here he is today to come out for the IDPA Invitational. At the request of Bill Wilson, their friends. They started shooting together 20 years ago. As we watch him in slow motion. His score is 11.82 for stage 5. You can see John still knows how to shoot. And as I said, John's been around for many years, and I wanted to talk to him about the competition shooting sport and IDPA.
I think it's wonderful. Bring guys like me out, you know. A lot of police officers be back. A lot of weekend warriors that just like to have a good time. I think we're really going to see something happen here, Lenny. I'm glad you're here. I think this will do a lot to get this on film and show people what's really happening here. You like it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well,
pure and simple.
Oh, yeah. I'll be back in Tulsa. They'll have a club, and I just really think it's going to be great. We've already got a lot of police officers that's coming back, which I think is wonderful, you know, because they can come with revolvers or any type of weapon they have. And there's a place for all kinds of shooting. This is the one that's been going a while.
Well, you're still shooting good after all these years, huh?
Yeah.
Like riding a bike or what?
I don't know. I practiced a couple of times, and I'm a little bit slow, but I'll work on it. Julie and John keep dragging me out, or Wilson's the one that does it.
Stage number 6 is called Not Enough Gun, which is based on an actual incident involving Walt Rauch. In fact, the match is designed by Walt Rauch, and it's sponsored by Nallen Custom Manufacturing. Here, there are 4 different strings of fire for a total of 20 rounds. In string number 1, the shooter starts with a gun in hand at the low ready position. At the signal, engage target 1, 2, 3, and 4, and target number 5 is a round 8-inch stop plate. The distance is 4 yards, 1 shot each, freestyle. On string number 2, everything is the same except you shoot with the strong hand only. On string number 3, everything is the same except the distance is increased to 6 yards, 1 round each, freestyle, making sure to hit that stop plate as your last shot. And on string number 4, again, at 6 yards, strong hand only. Hey, Walt Routs designed this course of fire, so we let him show us how it's done. Nice shooting, Walt. His score, 18.85. Now, next up is Ken Hackathorn. Where are you, Ken? There you are. Okay.
Shooter ready.
First string.
Stand by.
1 shot each target. Ooh. A little miss on the stop plate, but good shooting.
Load and holster.
Even with a stock Beretta, you can shoot fast and shoot very accurately. And Ken doesn't really practice with his gun a lot. There you go, Ken. Nice shooting there.
Load and holster.
One-handed.
Ready. Stand by.
Okay, that was the 3rd string. See his concentration on that front sight.
Stand by.
Good exhibition of skills here by Ken Hackathorn. Nice shooting, Ken. Sweep your targets, make sure you didn't miss anything. And now we see it in slow motion. And we'll put his total score for all 4 strings up. Remember, you can go back and add up his times, then compare that to his overall score, 12.02, to see what his misses were like. Now, this is my string. Not bad, 3.09 seconds.
Stand by.
Gotta make sure you see that front sight before you shoot. No use having a miss.
Stand by.
Not bad at all. And here's my final string.
Stand by.
Not bad shooting. Make sure you see the front sight. Hit the target. My overall score, 20.60.
Safe. Stand by.
The IDPA is a new shooting sport based on practical shooting fundamentals. In order for this sport to grow and gain members, it needs the support of sponsors. Sponsors like Peterson's Handguns Magazine, the IDPA's primary sponsor for this event. They were responsible for the barbecue. Chip McCormick Corporation, responsible for the hospitality room. STI International provided lunch for all competitors and range personnel every day of the event. And Wilson Combat, who sponsored the opening ceremony and the cocktail party. Sponsors like these make things happen. The growth and success of the IDPA is their legacy. Please give these sponsors your appreciation and support, and a big thank you. Stage 7 is sponsored by Snap-on Tools of Northwest Arkansas. This is the defensive pistol classification match number 1 for the IDPA. There are 7 different strings of fire for a total of 30 shots, and there are 3 different targets. On string number 1, you draw and fire 2 shots to the body and 1 to the head of target T1. String number 2, the same exercise, but shoot at target T2. And string number 3, again, draw and fire 2 shots to the body and 1 to the head on target number T3. Now, string number 4, draw and fire 2 shots at each head, target 1, 2, and 3 for a total of 6 rounds. String number 5. Start with the gun in your weak hand, pointed downrange at a 45-degree angle. Safety may be off, but the finger must be out of the trigger guard and off of the trigger. Fire 1 shot at each target, weak hand only, for a total of 3 shots. String number 6. You start with your back facing towards the target. At the signal, turn and fire 1 shot at each target, 1, 2, and 3. Reload and fire 1 shot again at targets 1, 2, and 3 for a total of 6 rounds. String number 7. Draw and fire 2 shots at target 1, 2, and 3. Strong hand only for a total of 6 rounds. And there it is, the entire defensive pistol classification match number 1, all 30 rounds. And that was Ross Carter, our demonstration shooter, with a score of 26.52. Thank you very much, Ross. Our next shooter here is Ryan Wilson. This is Bill Wilson's son.
Stand by.
Nice shooting there. Ryan runs the custom shop at Wilson Combat. You can see he knows how to shoot, and he knows how to build fine pistols. Good first string there.
2, 3, 0.
As we check out his score on the official scorecard. Nice shooting. And I suggest, if you can, set these stages up at your own range and test yourself and see how your scores measure up.
Reload, reholster. 3, 2, 7. Stand by.
Well, I'm sure Ryan would like to do that reload over
Reload,
again.
reholster.
See his score there. His time is 6.37. Probably shave a half a second off that.
7.
And here it is, one-handed now.
Finished. Unload. Show clear. Clear.
Nice shooting for Ryan Wilson.
Clear. Hammer down.
Gives him a score, 27.04. Remember, he is the guy who runs the custom shop down at Wilson Combat. Now, next up, of course, Rob Latham. Ooh, look at that. 3 shots, 1.98. Extreme accuracy. 1.83. Getting faster, Rob. And again, 1.83. You know, you're consistent when you're good, or you're good when you're consistent. Something like that. All right, here's the 4th string for Rob. That's a total of 6 shots in 3.79 seconds. So show that to some of your friends who don't shoot, and they'll be amazed and astounded.
Reload, reholster.
Weak-handed. He saw he had a little miss there, and so he's not happy with that. Well, I think Rob got a little over-anxious there on the turn. What the hell was that?
Hey, you got up on the gun and dragged you up off the ground.
Well, for some reason,
fighting recoil there.
I can't fall over. I can't step forward. I'm falling over.
He's falling. I can't get up. Okay, now here we are with the one-handed stage. One-handed string that is, and his time, 3.20. Remember, that's 6 shots with the draw with one hand. As we watch his stumble again in slow motion. And what's amazing there is he didn't have a miss. And his score, 22.16. And Rob is an excellent interview subject, so I wanted to speak to him about the variety of shooters here.
A lot of big names. This is a who's who here, huh?
Yeah, it is kind of interesting. You know, you walk around and I see a lot of people I haven't seen for a long, long time. When I started shooting, I've been at it for a while too, because I started pretty young. I'm seeing a lot of people who were still shooting practical stuff when I started, who I haven't seen before. I'm like, yeah, I remember you. I remember when the first couple nationals, you were there, and it's kind of neat because you're bouncing back. You know, some of the old masters. You know, Jerry Escher's out here shooting.
Right.
John Sayles here. Hackathorn's back out. You know, getting him to shoot a match. You know, is an act of Congress.
And he's still a shooter, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, shooters are always shooters. I've seen very few people that shot and who love to shoot, that you couldn't get them out to shoot. You just got to have the right format, and this may very well be it.
Stage 8 is called Wrong Place, Wrong Time, and it's sponsored by Handgunning Magazine. Here there are a total of 9 different targets with 18 rounds minimum. At the signal, engage target 1, 2, and 3 with 2 rounds each from position 1 or while moving to position 2. Then engage targets 4, 5, and 6 with 2 rounds each from position 2. Move to position 3 and engage targets 7, 8, and 9 with 2 rounds each. While trying to engage targets 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6, you cannot reload until you shoot the gun dry. Your second reload, if required, may be made any time after engaging T6, but it must be made from behind cover. That's a fun stage 2. Yamil Sood is the photographer for Gun Games Magazine. His score, 18.61. Thank you, Yamil. Now, our next shooter is Bill Wilson. Remember, Bill designed this course of fire, and he's shooting a stock Beretta handgun. Shoot the gun dry. Maintain cover. And look at that time, 14.62 seconds. He dropped 1 point, which gives him 14.92 as an overall score. Nice shooting, Bill. I spoke with Bill earlier about the research and development involved in making a new sport.
We actually were doing the same thing we're doing in IDPA about a year ago, just informally at the club level, kind of a testing ground sort of thing, you know, and kind of trying to refine some of the ideas and everything. And that's what we found. It, you know, people that, you know, work at the local garage or, you know, do this or do that, that have very little true interest in guns, but they kind of, you know, want to carry a self-defense gun and want to have one around the house and everything. You can get them out to shoot this type of stuff, where if it's truly just an action shooting competition where everybody has the super fancy equipment and the uniforms on and everything, we found that you can't get those people out for that type of activity. That's one of the things that we tried to copy that the cowboy action shooters have done very well. I know Bob Munden told me one of the things you got to do is make sure the stages aren't too hard, that everybody there can get their hits on the targets. I mean, your best shooters are just going to do it all faster. But we tried to set it up to where very few of the shots were so difficult that, you know, if your average shooter would just take the time to squeeze the trigger and, you know, get a good sight picture, they can make the shots. I know you shot through the match. I think you agree that we pretty well succeeded at this match on that.
And you can take the skills you learn here to the street.
Yeah, exactly.
Next up here is Chip McCormick. Now, Chip, of course, owns and operates CMC, Chip McCormick Corporation. They make magazines and other gun parts. Nice shooting, Chip. Look at that time, 13.97. Now, Chip hasn't shot a match in about 5 or 6 years. Good job, score, 14.87. Nice job, Chip. Nice glasses, too.
Lenny, I dropped too many points on that one, but I'll get it right.
Time, 1, 3, 9, 7.
Nice time.
Too many
0,
points.
1, 1.
Oh, you dropped 1 point, 2 points.
3.
3.
0,
Oh.
0.
With the designer glasses, kind of like those. They're cool.
That's different, you know.
Yeah, it's very
I didn't even. These are the glasses I wear on my Harley. I didn't have any clears.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so.
They're very cool.
Yeah, they're.
Think of a motorcycle glasses?
Yeah, they're kind of like goggles, you know, and they keep the wind out of my eyes. And they're good up to 100. I can vouch for that.
Now, Walt Rouch is our next shooter here on stage number 8. Walt has very good tactics there. But he wanted to reload early, didn't he? You see, he's increasing the distance from the threat immediately. And Walt shoots very well, 18.73 seconds. Nice shooting. Gives him a score, 20.31. And he's going to make sure no one's still alive down there. Good job, Walt.
Stand by.
All right, Ken Hackathorn. Let's see how he does. Moving back over the threat. Nice shooting. Tactical reload. He's ready. Good job. 14.60 is his score. Good shooting for Ken Hackathorn. Now, I spoke with Ken about the purpose of the IDPA and the goals for this particular match.
Well, as you know, the key thing we're trying to do here is introduce a lot of people to it. We've got a lot of people from the industry and the media like you. And what we're trying to do is we've actually addressed a number of issues that evolved out of IPSC that a lot of us felt kind of got off track. We know it's become an equipment race. We know that, quote, tactics, if you will, are almost non-existent. We know that the power factoring, the way you score the targets, all of us have seen things that probably were a little out of whack. So when we say on form this organization, we looked at a lot of things that we felt IPSC had kind of went off track on as far as what, and remember the origin when we formed IPSC, it was designed to be, in essence, a defensive pistol competition.
And you were there at the beginning, weren't you?
Yeah, one of the founding members. And we, when we started, we wanted to use the word International Combat Shooting Association. But what happened was, one of the things we found out, the Europeans couldn't use the word combat because in Europe, they don't have a right to use guns for self-defense. So we had to come up with a politically correct term, and this is in 1976. We ended up with the word practical. It became the International Practical Shooting Confederation. Well, we all understood what practical meant. It meant the kind of gun you carry to defend yourself.
And that is the idea of the IDPA. You can be comfortable and proficient and skilled with your carry gun. The gun you put under your bed for self-defense. There's the mandatory reload in this stage. And Rod Steckel shot the entire stage with a cigar in his mouth. Nice shooting, Rod. Score of 22.06.
Ready.
All right, next up here, this is Scott Smith. He's from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Scott goes for headshots there. And gets them all. Nice steady pace, very good shooting. 20.49 seconds is his time. His score is 21.39. Nice shooting, Scott.
For the headshots, are you? Yes. Can't leave the target empty.
I caught up with Scott after he was finished scoring his targets and asked him, as a law enforcement officer, how does he compare IDPA to other matches that he's shot?
It's more applicable to states that have CCW laws, lets the average person on a player or even playing field as opposed to my stock gun against your race gun. A lot less intimidating, a lot more camaraderie between everybody that's shooting. As you can see with the group we're with here, you've got myself, the Ken Hackathorn shooting, and all discussing the same day-to-day things. Where are you going out and have a cold beer at later tonight type deal, which makes it a lot better, a lot less pomposity. It's much more realistic in that regard. I wouldn't consider it quote-unquote defensive training, but it's practical training. You're never going to get defensive training in a sporting environment, but it does give you better gun handling skills, closer scenarios, more in line with what you actually see in statistics of gunfights today. All agencies and trainers instill that in their people. They train for their own survivability capability, and this will reinforce it, whereas in IPSC, you run and gun. Cover is a moot point. It's just an object to get around.
Thank you, Scott. Now here's Kirby Smith, the president of CZ USA. Nice shooting, Kirby, 14.01 seconds. And you can see that he shot those targets out of order somewhat. Should only shoot 3 around the one side, but he got a procedural. Here's Dick Thomas. Dick out of the holster fast, shooting fast. Whoa. And Dick's time, 17.03 seconds. Gives him a score of 18.53. And Dick, told me earlier about IPSC gun particulars and the future of IDPA.
The whole idea of these incredibly long slides and optic sights and weighted handles and so on, all those things were just the product of people wanting to win trophies and win prize money, kind of like IndyCar racing.
Sure.
You know, I mean, it was a natural evolution.
Can't drive them on the street, though.
No, we sure can't. No, they won't pass the emissions test.
Okay, now the future of the IDPA, obviously it's off to a good start. Where's it going?
Well, I hope that it continues to grow. Really, we'd like to see it grow on the local level. I'd hope that within 5 years we'd have at least 50 solid local USA clubs shooting 8 to 10 matches a year, averaging 50 to 75 shooters. I'd like to see our techniques and our qualification course adopted by police departments and by the military. I went to Quantico, for example, talking about practical shooting and a bit of the history of it, back in the days when the FBI shot from a crouch one-handed. And you looked at those people and you thought, gee, they just must be brain dead. Because why would anybody do that when they could put two hands on the gun? And then you realize, well, but that all grew up from riding horseback. And if you were going to ride horseback, you kind of could fling the shots one at a time. But it's refreshing. Now, you can interview a couple of the FBI guys that are here now. If you go back and watch them train at Quantico, it looks kind of like an IDPA match that's going on, yeah.
Stage 9 is sponsored by Carter Custom Weaponry, and it's called Not With My Child. Here, there are 3 different targets. Target 1 and Target 2 are close. T1 is 1 yard, T2 is just 2 yards. You stand facing those targets with a 20-pound weight in your offhand, simulating the child, and a wet cloth in your strong hand, your gun hand. At the signal, you drop the cloth, draw your gun, and engage target T1 and T2. Then move to cover behind the dumpster and engage target T3, which is 15 yards out. Of course, you've got to try to get cover and maintain cover while shooting that last target. And you do this stage 2 different times for a total of 12 shots. Lane Simpson's time was 6.41 seconds, which gives him a score of 13.92. Nice shooting, Lane. Now, here is Irv Stone again with Not With My Child. From the hip, he shoots. Had a good time there, 6.56 seconds.
Stand by.
Now here's string number 2. And his time is 6.72 seconds. Total them together with his misses gives him a score 15.68.
Clear. Slide forward, hammer.
All right, next up here, Rod Steckel.
Stand by.
Stage number 9. Pretty realistic shooting circumstance there. And good time, 6.25 seconds. String number 2.
By.
And his good time there, 5.97 seconds. So total them together, his score, 12.82.
597, range clear.
Now here's Ken Hackathorn.
Stand by.
Got the baby in his left hand, the rag in his right. And that was pretty realistic, tossing the rag at him. And of course, the rag represents a wallet. So if the bad guys are asking for your wallet, let them have it. Then draw your gun. See, he throws it right at him, hits him in the face. Not a bad idea, Ken.
Stand by.
Okay, string number 2. Pretty realistic shooting from the hip there. Drops the child. See that front sight? Good shooting, 6.34. Ken Hackathorn's score, 14.24. And again, tossing that wallet right at him. All right, here's Dick Thomas.
Stand by.
.93 seconds. Good shooting, Dick. And here's the second string. Toss that wallet. Yeah, let him get it. There you go, Dick. Now let's drop the child gently. And 3 shots there on the final target. Gives him a time of 6.93 and a score of 16.56. Nice shooting, Dick. Next up here is Tom Gibbons. Tom is a range master and a shooting instructor at an indoor range. Nice shooting, 6.13 seconds. Tom's a very accomplished shooter, as you can see from this drill. Nice shooting there, 5.5 seconds, a very fast run. His overall score is 11.98. And I had a chance to speak with Tom, very nice gentleman, about his strategy for shooting IDPA.
No, you're shooting against yourself, basically. Do the best you can under the circumstances, and the circumstances are somewhat realistic and they're varied, and gives you a good opportunity to see where your skill level is today.
Right, whereas this sport, we all look at it as a sport, but it has a relevant value to it. So, there's a lot of people who are, martial artists, self-defense enthusiasts, who can take this sport and say, I can use these courses of fire, this classifier, as a judge of my operational ability of this firearm.
Yeah, you can shoot the classifier, say, twice a year and gauge your progress, for instance, which is a good way to do that. 6 months after you fired it, shoot it again and see where you've grown, see what stages you need to work on. It's a good way to identify weak points. Since it has so many stages, it gives you an idea of what you're good in, what you're bad in. And a lot of people tend to practice what they're good at, and you really need to practice what you're bad at. And this gives you an idea what you need to work on.
Thank you, Tom. And this has been the IDPA Invitational Tournament and Conference. I'm Lenny McGill. I want to thank you all for watching. And if you have any interest in practical shooting, defensive style shooting, contact the IDPA. I urge you to join the IDPA and shoot the local matches in your area. I'm Lenny McGill. Thanks for watching. Safe shooting. Bill Wilson, Ken Hackathorn, and Lenny McGill Productions have teamed together to produce the most informative, technically correct approach to modern defensive pistol tactics and shooting techniques ever released on videotape. 12 titles in all, packed with the latest on skills, drills, equipment, mindset, tactics, and shooting techniques, plus a whole lot more. Wilson and Hackathorn are both experts in their fields, and Lenny McGill Productions is known worldwide for its high-quality firearms-related video productions. Together, they have created a series of programs that will entertain, amaze, inform, and make you aware of the tactics you need to survive a real gunfight. Basic Self-Defense Handgun Use and Safety is a two-part set covering the basic fundamentals of shooting: grip, stance, sight picture, sight alignment, and trigger pull. Plus, informative segments on self-defense pistols and ammunition. What happens in a real gunfight? What gun is best for you? 9mm versus 45, and lots more.
Start to think about how can I practice and train that's going to increase my chance of survival.
Advanced Self-Defense Shooting Tactics and Techniques is a 5-part series that takes the viewer to a new level in both shooting skills and tactical knowledge. Extensive discussions and demonstrations on the use of cover, shooting while moving, both towards and away from your target. You'll learn the advantages of a speed reload versus a tactical reload, aimed fire versus flash sight picture versus point shooting, using your vehicle for cover, shooting from a vehicle, 2 shots versus 1 shot. Over 5 hours in all of the finest pistol instruction techniques in the world.
One of the best lines I've heard, and it's a great one, is people saying, what's the best weapon you can have? It's your mind.
Combat Ready Self-Defense Shooting Practice Drills is the first program ever that takes you into the practice routines of 2 of the finest pistol shooters in the world. Bill Wilson and Ken Hackathorn share 20 years of experience as they show you how to practice like a pro and increase your skill level faster and easier. You see in both the front post.
Oh yeah, on that kind of a shot, I'm getting a true sight picture.
And you've seen the both front and rear sight?
Oh yeah, front and rear sight, good alignment, you know, really paying attention to the front sight. Actually, just like I would be taking a 25-yard precision shot.
Nightmaster, low-light shooting and flashlight techniques, is an up-to-date look at the equipment and tactics needed to successfully utilize a handheld light source in an armed encounter. Wilson and Hackathorn demonstrate the latest flashlights, their advantages and disadvantages, and how to use them for your tactical advantage.
Indoors, sometimes you can't move a big distance, but if you're here and you're illuminated and all of a sudden you see a threat, one step to the right, one step to the left, either way, to get out of that zone where the incoming fire may be returned to.
House Clearing and Cornering Tactics and Techniques is a 75-minute program that shows you how to enter a house or room and increase your chance for survival. Plus, you'll learn how to maintain cover, why to stay out of the fatal funnel, how to look for and avoid telegraphing target indicators, and the importance of maintaining distance from walls and cover. Plus, a very graphic demonstration of cover versus concealment as Wilson and Hackathorn shoot through ordinary walls and cinder blocks.
So unlike the normal indoor walls, sheetrock walls, which in reality are just concealment, concrete blocks, in fact, provide very good cover.
Practical Concealed Carry is a 90-minute program that shows the basics of concealed carry, how to fit a holster to your body, over 6 different methods of carry, live fire drills, pocket holsters, safety, and lots more.
The virtue of the fanny pack is that if you're in that proverbial summer evening going out for dinner and you're just wearing a pair of shorts and a polo short or a t-shirt, the fanny pack gives you a means of carrying a little bit more substantial firearm and having it readily available.
Building the ultimate 1911 self-defense handgun is designed to save you time and money. The master gunsmiths of Wilson's Combat demonstrate advanced gunsmithing techniques as Bill Wilson and Ken Hackathorn discuss what are the most practical and necessary custom procedures for your 1911 handgun. Overall, this new series of 12 professionally produced videos is one of the finest resources of self-defense handgun shooting tactics and techniques in the world. Brought to you by Wilson Combat. John Bianchi is the most recognized personality in the firearms industry. Known internationally as the father of the modern holster and the master of concealment, John Bianchi is responsible for the design and production of an incredible 20 million holsters, belts, and accessories during his 40-year career. In the early 1950s, John Bianchi started as a police officer, making holsters in his garage. His business expanded rapidly, And by the mid-1970s, Bianchi International had grown to be the industry leader, occupying the 60,000 square foot facility in Temecula, California. John Bianchi's numerous achievements include authoring the industry bestseller, Blue Steel and Gun Leather, creating an international pistol shooting competition, the Bianchi Cup, as well as over 200 patents, trademarks, and copyrights. His holsters were used in virtually all Hollywood movie productions from the mid-1960s. But perhaps his most important contribution is the design, development, and manufacture of the M12 military holster, currently in use by the United States and NATO forces worldwide. John Bianchi sold Bianchi International in 1989 and now personally handcrafts custom Western gun belts that are considered to be works of art that are truly becoming collector's items. These are available through his new custom shop, Frontier Gun Leather. This program is Volume 3 of a 3-part series featuring the artistry and secrets of advanced Western holster making. John Bianchi shares with you more than 40 years of experience in working with leather, tools, and supplies to make the highest quality holsters and belts in the world. The information you're about to see can be applied to all leather-making projects with particular emphasis on holsters and belts. Now, here's John Bianchi. The revolver has been around for more than 150 years, and it's still considered to be one of the most reliable defensive handguns one could own. Mastering revolvers. Right here. Cowboy action shooting has grown dramatically in the past 15 years. Started by a group of competition shooters who became disenchanted with the equipment race of IPSC competition, the Wild Bunch, as they are known, formulated a shooting sport that emphasized friendly competition, shooting skill, cowboy-era firearms, and authentic clothing. The first end-of-trail competition in 1980 attracted just 72 shooters, but by 1995, More than 325 competitors from all over the world and over 10,000 spectators enjoyed this 3-day event. The governing body for cowboy action shooting competition is SAS, which stands for Single Action Shooting Society. They have close to 10,000 members in every state of the Union, plus 11 foreign countries. For more information on membership and competition, contact SAS at the address on your television screen.
We'll go again.
Larry Cohen, a.k.a. the Durango Kid, is an accomplished cowboy action shooter. With roots in Steel Challenge speed competition and IPSC-style shooting, he made a natural transition to the cowboy action sport. He won the End of Trail Championship in 1991 and has been a consistent champion at numerous other matches, including the Durango Junction High Country Shootout that he and his wife Shireen, also known as 6 Gun Red, put on every fall. And there's an address to write to for more information. The Durango Kid is an excellent pistol and rifle shooter. But when it comes to the cowboy-era pump-action shotgun, simply put, he's the best in the world.
That's it.
Woo! This program is designed to give you a better understanding of the shooting techniques used to become a more skilled cowboy action shooter. It is our hope that by watching this program, you will improve your overall shooting skills. Now, here's the Durango Kid with speed and accuracy. Cowboy action style. There are many reasons for owning a handgun, whether it's for competition, self-defense, hunting, or just plinking. One common denominator that all handgun owners share is a quest for accuracy. There's nothing quite like shooting an extremely accurate handgun. Now, I believe that all high-quality, name-brand handguns are inherently accurate from the factory. The key is understanding how to tune the handgun, the ammo you wish to shoot, the conditions in which you're going to shoot, and the intended purpose. And that's what this program's all about, helping you get the most accuracy from your handguns. I'm Lenny McGill. Welcome to Sighting in Handguns.